The ordinance requires it to be bagged and tied. Isn't that right?
And it requires a lid on it.
And a lid.
Which the trash cans will encompass all of that. So
It would, because I used to get on my daughters. They come back from Wendy's or Hardee's, just plop it in the trash can. I'd be like, folks, you got to bring it in the house and put it in the trash bag. Sorry, Carolina Mary Catholic, gotta watch.
Budget time?
Like
Take a look at it and
like I
something.
talked to Phil about it.
Talked about putting it on the bill, for a 12-month period.
That's what Jennifer had asked me several times.
Because if I live in Blackstone and you have bought me, the town has bought me a trash can, and I moved to Burkeville, I'm taking the trash can with me, and then the town has to pay for another trash can.
True.
If I pay for it myself, then I can take it with me, and every time somebody gets a new service or comes in to get utilities, they can pay 6 months.
That's a great point. So
And we'll give you a proposal too on the revenue side to see if maybe we bill for them. And
this is a true story. When he was here in the 90s, there's a picture of him in an old newspaper of him with a model 96-gallon can. Blackstone was going to make everybody push it to the curb. And then all of a sudden the narrative was, well, we got a lot of widows in Blackstone and older folks they're not going to do that. And so here we are 25 years later.
And
I think the time's come.
I have a feeling you're gonna we may have trash cans, but they're still not gonna go out to the street.
Well,
Well-
I had complaints during the snowstorm too. People came by here, they called me, our trash guys tore up their yard, and I said, well, where's your trash cans at the street? Oh no, they're behind my house.
Right.
You know, and that's why they're
Correct.
And also an issue with trash is the fact that landfills aren't open, so we can't take our trash.
that was an interesting event.
We're going to
So
work on getting a key to that landfill. Let's keep this on the agenda, if we may, for put in the budget.
we'll work on it in the
Continue to
budget
explore
process.
it.
All day Friday.
Is that okay by common consent? We'll just continue to explore this. Good points on both sides. Mr. Morgan had a good point. Mr. Nash had a good point. Item number 3, this is basically, this council had a policy allowing rent of the Armory through December 31st. As we know, the Armory's going to have some remediation of asbestos and lead paint soon, we hope.
We hope.
But I received an email today, as did the town manager. There's a lady, she's a great auctioneer. Her name is Ann Underwood from Victoria Auction. And she has big sales with big dollar items. And she was looking to have a sale in Blackstone. And she asked me today if the Armory would be available around April or May, where she'd rent it for a month for 1 or 2 sales. And I told her, I said, that's going to be tight on the timeline.
I think that's going to fall in, and I'll read an email from the Department of Environmental Quality. And we applied for, if you guys remember, we submitted an application, I think $260,000 for remediation of lead-based paint, asbestos, and removal of an underground storage tank at the Armory. And we followed up and wanted to make sure they had all their paperwork and all that sort of thing. And the response from Vince Maiden at DEQ was, yes, we'd have all this settled by the end of the month, end of January. Your revisions should get you approved, but I only have 1 vote, smiley face. So we have an expectation by the end of January, we would have an approval from the state to go ahead and get that process going with bidding. And but we've already, as part of this grant application, already done a thorough asbestos assessment updated, which is to be reimbursed with the grant. I think it was like a $10,000 line item in there. So we went out and sampled the roof. We sampled everything. And those are the revisions they're speaking of. They didn't want to go off of a 2001 B&B report. They wanted something fresher. And it increased the amount. If you remember, we originally applied for under $160,000, and this added $100,000 based on its findings. So
I think we're being bullish thinking that there'll be any work prior to April, and you've got a lady that says she'd rent it for a month. That's $350 a day.
Well, now I'm gonna be on. Now let me tell. I told her that's what the rental policy was.
Even if it was, we cut a
and-
deal on that.
and I
That's
told
money
her
that can go to the building.
Right. I just, like I said, she has auctions of exquisite old stuff that brings high dollars, and the people come. And I was thinking, we've got a Blackstone Antique Mall, we've got 2 other antique places in town, Picker's Place and the Black Pig, and could we at least hold the possibility open? I said we really need to have a date, a better time period. Could we just not rule it out tonight? Because
agree.
it would really be good for tourism. I mean, you talk about tourism, that's tourism.
well, let's find out if we're getting this grant.
Right.
If not, then we're going to scramble around and try to find some other source for the funds. But and it may be a moot point. We may not get anything, and it may take it beyond April or May. So
She had a picture of a Lunenburg County Civil War soldier that someone paid, didn't even know who he was, and it went for $10,000 back in last fall, I believe.
And we'll even just take 5% of all sales.
Hey, look at Eric. Eric is, I tell you what, don't mess with Eric, man. I tell you what, he's good.
$350 a day.
So we'll just leave that open-ended.
Well, you look up-
Do we wanna keep the policy or what do we?
Ask her for a date.
I say right now, we're in limbo. Right now, the Armory is
well, remember, there's no heat in there. I've had other people calling. I was like,
Right.
it's unheated. I think somebody wanted to have a cornhole tournament.
I say the policy right now is we're not doing it, but we're considering on a case-by-case basis, and Miss Ann Underwood, because of the possible large nature of what it may bring to town, we're just considering. And we'll need more information from her next month. Moving right along, we have redistricting, which we have to do fairly soon with election year. Mr.
Actually-
Novak.
We have a bid before that, award bid.
Go right ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Novak.
This is an award bid for the Blackstone Hotel Storm Sewer Improvement. This is the second component of four components that we actually submitted to the Department of Housing and Community Development for Industrial Revitalization Funds. As you know, we received a $600,000 award. We have spent $168,000 on the water and sewer with Lease excavating. This is the second bid that we would open, and the estimate from the contractor, not our engineers, but the contractor that's working over there, their estimate was about $212,000. The bid came back for the work at $309,703. There is money in that $600,000 to pay it, okay? We broached the topic with DHCD and asked them, can we give $212,000 to the developer and let them pay their contractor to do that? They said, yes, you can, but it automatically becomes a loan and not a grant. So that nixed the idea. So I am making recommendation to, and Raj Patel is also agreeable to this, make award to SWCI Incorporated in the amount of $309,703 for curb and gutter and sidewalks and stormwater associated with the parking lots being constructed at ViewMac.
You've heard the town manager's recommendation. We've been wholeheartedly in support of this, and there is great progress taking place here now. I'd entertain a motion to approve. Mr. Morgan has moved. Is there a second? Second, Ms. Jones. Any further discussion?
There was only one bid.
One bid, we advertised in the Richmond paper and still just got
That's crazy.
one bid from Jason.
Shows you how busy everybody is.
Yeah.
I'll need a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Miller. That motion carries 7-0. Now we're on unfinished business number 5, redistricting with the ward system. And just to refresh people's memory, this council did go on record earlier as wanting to keep the 5 wards and 2 at large, and also to be consistent with the court's ruling in the mid '80s that 3 of those 5 wards will have majority, and I think that is going to be attainable based on the maps I've seen. Without being the one ward that was kind of crazy, the B and C down there on Beach Cliff kind of had a gap in it.
They weren't contiguous, and I think one of the terms you hear is it contiguous. But the census block was so big, it was 90 persons in that census block. It's hard to try to offset it. So I'm meeting with Melody Foster tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I think it's a Zoom call. We're going to do it on the phone, and we're going to bring the maps up, and we're going to start moving pieces and parts. And I'd like, if you remember in 2010, Eric, you may remember, the mayor, we gave you like 3 different options, and then you guys picked an option. So what I intend on doing is bringing 3 different options to you after Melody and I sit down, and if we can't resolve it tomorrow, then we'll resolve it in the next week or 2, and maybe a called meeting sometime in February to go ahead and get y'all started on looking at the different options.
And the committee of the town redistricting committee is the council as a whole. And then one other thing the council agreed is, ladies and gentlemen, where at all possible, the current incumbents will remain in their current ward. That's just sort of a common courtesy that governments tend to do, and that's what we're tracking. And certainly everything will be public, and once the map is proposed, there'll be a public hearing on it. So that's moving right along. This next item is very big, the town manager regarding Pickett water and sewer rates.
We've been working for, about a year now with Fort Pickett, and we were trying to dovetail it at the same time with the town of Crew and the prisons. And when that dropped off, it kind of simplified things quite a bit. And working with the National Guard, there's been quite a bit of back and forth. And if you remember, the big tenants or the big components of this agreement that the MOU that we originally signed was that the facility would earmark an additional 400,000 gallons of water and sewer per day for the town's use, they would have their utility bills on a 1-for-1 like you do at your house. Right now, if you use 1,000 gallons of water, you get billed for 1,000 gallons of sewer. They had always been billed water and then sewer separate. So oftentimes, if we had a lot of rain, they'd get a 5 million gallon a month water bill and a 10 million gallon sewer bill. So now they'll be doing a 1-for-1. However, part of what we want to do is try to start working on some utility. I'm memorializing this a little bit for the new folks. We want to make sure that we have some money to start replacing some of the very old utilities, 1940s era utilities. And because they're going to a 1-to-1, that means the town is accepting all the inflow and infiltration, or I&I, that's at the system. We're not billing for that. So as part of doing that, the rates were intended to go up, and I do think we're going to be mighty close with the $10.30 on the sewer rates. We kept it on sewer because that's specifically what we're talking about as far as where we started on sewer capacities, and I think this will work. Michael's calculations were based on an average over a series of years.
Say Michael, you're talking about Michael Alder.
Michael Alder with Public Works at Fort Pickett. My only concerns are if we go out and borrow money to start replacing sewer lines, we got to be guaranteed, or nearly guaranteed as much as possible, that we are going to collect enough to service that debt. So that's why I've held on and not been always agreeable to things. We've seen numbers in the 8s, we've seen numbers in the 9s, but Michael, going back using a running average, came back, and this is the figure that he has proposed.
So what's before you Pickett agrees with, and you it says here the net effect to the town will be about $200,000 annually in the town's favor?
In the town's favor,
Go to fix the lines out there, though.
only for that purpose. And if you're,
To us, when it comes to us,
It's capital improvements
yeah,
that we need to
we
do
own,
anyway.
yeah.
But
Need to
let's
get
be clear. Let's be clear about that though. That's the goal. But heaven forbid, if we have something major happen in town and we need to $500,000 to fix it, we're allowed to use that money, right?
no, it's supposed to be set in a separate account.
Now, when you say supposed to, is this law, state law, or just we're going to?
No, this is just by agreement between the town
okay.
and the post.
And we certainly intend to do that, but I just don't handcuff ourselves if we have a problem here in Blackstone.
Well, we do have monies available
Right.
to us that we didn't in the past that we can use for those kinds of things. But I think the spirit of the thing is this will be in an auditable, specific fund to be used specific for utility improvements out of Fort Pickett.
I like it. I think you've done a lot of work on it, and if Pickett's happy, is council happy? Pickett's happy, Phillips happy. What's council's pleasure? We have to have a signing ceremony or something like that.
Well, I think we still got yet another agreement, but this is basically the rates being agreeable, and if you're agreeable to the 1030, I think Michael's number was about $195,867 or something. So we're pretty darn close, and in an effort to move the thing forward, because we haven't been billing them the new rate. It'll start this month, if you guys are so inclined to vote on this $10.30.
I move that we accept it as it's presented.
The former commander has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Jones is second. And just for the record, Michael Alder is a Blackstone native and one of the smartest people I know, and a great guy. And I'm glad y'all were able to work this out. Let's have a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Miller. That motion carries 7-0. This is a good vote. Very good decision. Moving right along, we have a long agenda, folks. A draft memorandum of understanding with the Nottaway County Animal Shelter, which currently is right at the landfill.
I believe that the Police and Employment Committee met on a couple occasions, and this was a topic. In order to have a part-time animal control officer who is also a sworn police officer, in order to do that, it was universally agreed that we need to have access on weekends and after hours and that sort of thing to the shelter if we pick up a dog. The reason the county won't pick up dogs in Blackstone is because the leash law is a town law. That's not a county law. If you live in the county, you're allowed to let your dog run loose unless it's harassing livestock and
Except for April and May.
other things. So there are a lot of dogs running loose in Blackstone. And one of our officers has agreed that he would do that as part of his duties. I'm sure it'll be some compensation at some point for him. And I think that it was understood that the town needed an MOU or an agreement. We submitted this to the county, and I think the county administrator has denied to move forward with it, based on he didn't feel like it was
I see Mr. Morgan with a
Yes,
question.
Yeah, before we move any further on any type of position part-time in reference to that, we need to have another committee meeting because some of the things I've been hearing, it's not favored to have somebody pull double duty. Cause that person is going to get run in the dirt.
That's, yeah.
We need to discuss it further, have chief come over here in a committee meeting so we can sit and find out exactly what his thoughts are on this before we move forward.
Agreed, and I would hope this would be done within a budget too.
But yeah, obviously the county's got us stalled here, but I can tell you, I've talked to Chief at length about it, and he's supportive of it. Now, if something has changed, so be it, but the initial discussion, Sam may have been a part of them when we first got started.
Have him back in the
with
meeting
him.
so I can talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also I would like to know, when can we start up this week?
With police employment,
Police and employment.
do it tomorrow morning if you want,
But
whenever you
I
want.
think Mr. Morgan's right. I think that's step A, is getting everything straight on the Blackstone end. And then once we get that, I think we've really got to have it would really be frustrating if we in Blackstone are trying to make life better for our constituents and we can't get into the shelter. I mean, that we've got to
That would
make
be a
sure,
pointless position.
yeah, that would be pointless, but
But this has been submitted to the county, and Ted's response was not, I shouldn't say negative, he was negative to this document. He wanted to come up with something that he felt was more suitable.
okay, well, maybe there'll be a
I think,
compromise.
I think I agree with what Lonnie says. I mentioned it when we first started talking about this, that I think it's gonna have a roller coaster effect of, all right, this position is gonna require more time of this officer. So you're gonna have, I'm already hearing where they want 2 additional officers this year, which is fine, we just have to have funding for it. But will this cause another issue for 3?
Well, and I worry, like I said, just burn. I know the officer in question is he's Iron Man. But human beings burn out.
Absolutely.
And also the fact that if he's busy doing that, and all of a sudden, is it going to be a domino where other officers have to kind of pick up the slack?
I think that's what Lonnie's getting to
Yeah.
there, yeah.
So I think, all right, let's,
It's inevitable, it's gonna happen.
yeah. So we'll refer this matter to police and employment. And meanwhile, hopefully look for some correspondence from the county administrator, because it's no good without, but like you said, I can tell you right now, some people who walk and run, it's real.
It is.
It's real. And we've had dog confinement in Blackstone, drum roll please, since 1982.
That-
12 months. And the leash law was added in 1994. That means if you take your dog off your property, you have to have a leash not to exceed 4 feet, or you're in violation. That means you go run with your dog, your pit bull. Oh, he ain't gonna hurt anybody. You can tell I have some nightmares. All right, moving right along to school buildings. We have a proposed agreement with the 2 old school buildings and the school board.
I think the last time we talked, I think it was the council, the full council, talked about the agreement with the county school board about the demolition of buildings over there at the old school complex, or the intermediate school complex on both sides of Harris Street. They had submitted to us an agreement which mentioned a community center. And if you remember, I think council we've got an armory, so we've got our hands full. But the last time we met, I think council wanted to see if there was a secondary use or a rehabilitation potential for the 2-story building that is on the south side of School Street. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't found one just yet. And what I've asked to do and what I've included is, instead of us responding fully on that building, I'm asking to have until January 2025, the town shall present a plan to the school board regarding demolition or rehabilitation of the 2-story building. You guys, we've got the armory going right now. I don't need to really be diving into another project that's going to have competing interests or something like that. And
But you're going to demolish the 1-story before January 2023.
during the course of this calendar year, it would demolish the one building that has actually become a menace. If you ever go inside it, the walls are collapsed and the roof is collapsed on the building. And it's open. If you can look down into it, it's open to the elements now. And then the third change would be the elimination of community center responsibilities, because I think we crossed that Rubicon already one time.
So you're looking for approval of this document to take to the school board for its consideration. This will be
Yeah.
amending the 2007 lease that we've had.
No, it doesn't amend the
Doesn't amend
2000
the
lease. It's a separate agreement altogether that was prepared by the school board, but it would still bind us to do things like provide water and sewer connections in the event that they needed to put portable classrooms up for a storm or an event and that sort of thing. So we'll still continue to work on
Being
that.
very nice on that.
Yep.
Members of council, what's your pleasure? It seems to me a very good,
Isn't
Offer.
the two-story building, becoming a safety issue?
Is it what?
Isn't it becoming, or is it already?
It's in pretty bad shape. If you go in there, I would,
So if we're gonna wait 3 more years, I mean, is that?
well, the problem is I just don't have funds that I think I can commit to it, and I don't have activities to commit to it. We've talked, Chastity and I, about daycare centers. Now, I can tell you, if the school board would let it happen, there's somebody who wants to put apartments in the thing, but the school board has rejected that as saying that's a bad idea. Pardon?
Ms. Hinton does not.
but it's a
want
different
that.
board. It's a different board than we talked to 3 years ago.
And it is a different board. We can maybe propose that as part of that. It's not saying we have to wait 3 years. It's just saying that the deadline would be in 3 years, that we would give them something. But
Knows how I feel about this.
Fill out longevity.
We need to get rid of the blight. But we can't even take care of our own stuff halfway. And we're gonna go demolish what was the ticket price?
what can we take care of?
What was the ticket price for this?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact price, but I think it was probably going to be just the asbestos was over $20,000 in the building. So we're probably talking $30,000. The town would do the demo, and we're asking the school to support our application to the county to waive the tipping fees of the landfill.
And the argument about the apartments was somewhat, like I said, I hate to beat a dead horse, but concern was said at a public school board meeting, well, we don't know who might move in there. And there was concern about, Blackstone Primary School is nearby. Well, anyone that and the concern was raised about sex offenders being close to children. Anyone in this town can go on the sex offender registry and see that they're amongst us in this community.
There's houses closer to the primary school than what that
Yeah,
building is
so
gonna be.
if we could get it on the tax rolls, take some blight and make it attractive, to me, that's a win-win. But of course, I don't live in that neighborhood, so,
I just need to get through the armory and get that done before I dive into another project. And there may be a good legitimate use of daycare center or something that all parties can agree on, but I just don't think we're at that point right now. We've got a big armory project. We're still trying to fill that building and still putting the funds together to get that done. So
I
I
would
would ask.
entertain a motion to approve the town manager's proposal.
So moved.
Mr. Morgan has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller has seconded, and just want to say this will be presented to the school board, maybe in writing, before the next meeting. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 6-1. All right, very good. Under, so we have the airport. Sealed bids for the apron have come in way high.
They have come in high. I think the engineer's estimate was $320,000. The asphalt work at the airport came in, I believe, at $489,000. The fact that this is a 80-20 grant does give us some reason for hope. We believed that the Department of Aviation, who is meeting on this for the grant award in February, would probably reject this number, but our consulting engineer that put the bid together, he no longer feels that they would reject it because of a surplus of funds. Okay, it increases our 20%, which is smaller, and our contribution down, and it's all gas money. This is just using gas money. This is not tax money or anything like that. It's selling fuel to the military would be about $90,000. And there's no need to approve it tonight, because if the Department of Aviation Board at their February 17th meeting does not approve the grant award, it's a moot point, because I don't have $489,000, nor will we have it in the near future.
Put this on the agenda for February.
It is, but this is informational, just in case you see something from the Department of Aviation making an award to the town. That's what we're doing. The bids went out because the Department of Aviation wants to see a true number instead of an engineer's estimate because of the bidding environment, and they will vote on that, and engineers expect a favorable response.
When you
Alright.
have it on the agenda for February, can you have a map with a layout of what parts will be actually paid?
I've got the plans. I can just copy the set of plans.
All right, folks, we're going to move on to ongoing projects. And yes, Madam Clerk.
Sorry.
That's fine.
We have a couple people, employees here in the audience that may have a longer drive tonight. Could
Yes.
we skip ahead to 2 items in new business?
Please tell me which ones.
The Nottaway County landfill, the leachate, and then the utility write-offs.
All right, we will go to new business number 8, which is the landfill. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Mr. Menorbeck, this is regarding rates that we charge them for leachate.
I've asked Allison to join us. She's the one that prepares the bill for the county's leachate. As you know, we had to work out a deal with Edmunds Hauling, who is servicing all the porta-johns for the Afghan relocated individuals. We've been charging 15 cents a gallon for that septic to be delivered to our wastewater plant. 15 cents per gallon, okay? As a matter of practice, we look back and the county gives us a lot of leachate. It's in the hundreds of thousands of gallons. How much do we charge them? And Allison went back and did the calculation. It really is the same as an in-town person would pay for sewer, which equates to about 0.8 of a cent per gallon.
Say a penny for
A penny per gallon, okay? But even more interesting is we don't bill for 100% of consumption. We bill 50% consumption, so we only bill for half the usage, okay? We're not charging enough for the leachate, is what the end result is. I think when I wrote this originally, my comments, that was back in December. I don't know if we're prepared to stop accepting leachate, but I do think we need to, my personal opinion is hold a public hearing because it has a dollar figure associated with it and actually adopt a rate schedule for septage. It's been so high, most people haven't done it, but Edmonds has used this because he was right there and the federal government was reimbursing, okay? We called around, I think some ladies called around. I think Hopewell is under 10 cents. And I think town of South Hill, I think, is over 30 cents because it's really something that people don't want because when they're putting it into the treatment plant, it could have things like chemicals in it, petroleum in it. It could have blue hand towels, all those kinds of things that are really noxious for the system. It's not really necessarily something that we like to get, just like everybody else. However, we've been doing this favor to the county for many, many years.
30 years.
And my predecessor, Larry, and Mr. Rourke had an agreement, okay, for many years that they would leave our tipping fees for rubbish and sludge the same, and we would leave our leachate charges the same. Well, in October of 2020, when we got into this, we found out that the county significantly increased our rubbish and sludge charges, okay? So I think that at some point, that handshake agreement went out the window. So I am asking council not necessarily to stop septage delivery, but to allow a public hearing to be held on a rate schedule for public and private haulers to be advertised in a public hearing and maybe the ordinance or policy to adopt.
I think that's good. I think it's always good to get things in writing. I mean, handshakes and things like that have been great in the past, but as counties grow and demand grows, like I said, who would have thought that we'd have, the thousands of Afghan evacuees here. So I think this is good. This is good stuff. When do you want to have the hearing? In March or February or?
February, if I can get the advertisement in the paper in time.
Sure.
How long ago did those rubbish rates go up?
October of 2020, I believe, was when they went up.
Catching up to do.
We're gonna tear their building down.
You
Sorry.
don't need a motion. Do you need a motion to go?
I'd like a motion to authorize me to hold a public hearing to
You've heard
present
the
to
town
you.
manager's request to have a public hearing on proposed increases for public and private haulers on the leachate or septic.
But we'll allow them to continue to tip as they have until such time as we get this.
Mr. Nash has moved. Is there a second? Second. Ms. Jones, a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. What was the other item, Madam Clerk?
Was there a public hearing for
Which
the
one?
increase in rubbish to us?
Utility write-off.
Logan says there was, but I don't remember it. It just came up recently.
We can file a FOIA request to see those minutes?
Oh, you
Can if you like.
can.
Yeah.
I hope you write it.
I can find out the advertisement dates, and I'm sure they've got them around somewhere. All right.
I do remember when they did that. All right, you also have, now we're on new business, number 9, utility write-offs. We have some town staff here to help us with these. These are things that we write up, but we never cease collecting, right? Trying to collect.
These are only because they're under $5 or the person is deceased. And we're asking, unless there are any other issues or instances, but there's some big ones, but the person's deceased and we can't collect it.
But if there are, don't we have a policy in place so where if you, let's say somebody leaves Blackstone, they owe the town some utilities. If they win the lottery or get a tax refund, don't we automatically get a cut?
Not automatically, but we do file a thing called ERMs, and we do
ERMs.
treasurer's liens, and gosh, those ladies have found all kinds of different ways to find people. But yes, it is called ERMs, and if they have lottery or state tax returns or any other compensation from the state that will be coming to them, we are entitled, but it has to be awarded.
And
to
we've
them.
recovered, I want to say over $100,000 in the last several years, haven't we?
Wait, you say that? Allison really does a lot of that. Is that accurate?
That's accurate, and we,
First year was a lot more.
it was a lot, it was about $75,000 from the tax set-off the first year.
Because at one time we had a total delinquent amount of utilities. It was like about $500,000 almost.
It's
wasn't
$425,000, but I think that did date back into the 90s.
it? Right.
But we've been chipping away at it a little bit, trying to get these things collected.
Submitted
Debt set-offs. Explain it
Herbs program.
for ERMs, excuse me.
Outstanding. That is outstanding. We need a motion to approve these write-offs totaling, $3,541.05.
So maybe.
Second.
Mr. Nash has moved. Mr. Miller is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank y'all for bearing with us, dedicated town workers. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. Ongoing projects, we are gonna talk about dilapidated properties, which we've already discussed on Fifth and Oak Street. Thank you, Allison.
I just wanted to let you guys know that as we're winding down the two houses, one on Oak and one on Fifth Street, we have two commercial buildings that have begun to really show signs of deterioration. One of them is the Velvet Textiles building, and the second one is the former Dillard Crawley building on Main Street. And we're going to begin. I'd like to notify you guys in case you get a contact from a property owner. We'd like to see windows replaced. We'd like to see structural improvements made specifically to the Velvet Textiles building, which had a pretty dramatic collapse in parts of the building, and you can see the building's actually leaning over. There was a building permit issued, but no activity's been taken, and I think it's going to take a little more enforcement to get them going. They're from away from here. They don't live here. They don't reside in the community. The owners, now they do have some employees that are local that work still in the building, but I think as we found on Fifth Street, a little gentle push, I think.
Are the owners in Florida?
No, the owners are in New York.
Okay.
I did talk with the roofing company for Velvet Textile,
Did you?
and they have the contract. It's a signed contract,
Mm-hmm.
and they're waiting on insurance proceeds.
Well, there has been a building permit issued to replace that roof, but that wall is leaning mighty heavy now.
It's done, yeah.
Yeah.
I see you've also got a single-family home on Nottoway Avenue. Is that an owner-occupied home?
No, it's a home. I'm not even sure we're going to be able to find the property owner. I think it's one of the properties that we had to condemn when we put the sidewalk in on Nottoway Avenue. It's an old white frame house and
I know, oh, yeah, yeah.
in
okay.
bad shape down there. And I tell you the truth, there's some others, including one on High Street, that I think is still storm damaged pretty significantly. And we're going to begin talking with those folks. And obviously, we have the one house on Main Street that continues to
Someone called
impress.
today, asked about that. It's a delicate situation.
So
But what do we, again, everything's a delicate situation. And, what do we do? What do you think we do? What should we do?
well, I think the previous council, before you ladies came on, were a little hesitant to pursue a blight policy. We have sent a letter to the property owner, but to pursue the blight policy all the way to the end would include condemning the property and taking the property. Unfortunately, every home and structure that we've dealt with have been vacant or empty. This one's got people living in it. And I don't know if council at the time was prepared to put people out of their home.
That's a tough one, folks.
Yeah, that's a toughie. And one of the things we're trying to do, and we'll discuss a little bit later in our agenda, that we do have some homeowner grant opportunities for new homes, and maybe this would qualify, and maybe we can work out some arrangement where a new home could possibly be built on another location in exchange for dedication of the home, so the town could get it cleared. It's a huge house, though.
Is the house that bad to where weatherization funds wouldn't help?
I don't think it's enough. I don't think we could. We've got a list, 12 people long, and enough money for half a house right now. And I'll be honest with you, I think the house is probably at a point where it's going to need a real significant amount of work to it. Now,
All right, well, that's informational. We appreciate the update. I'm not trying to
moving
cut
on.
anybody
That's
off,
fine.
but we've got a long agenda still. We've got meals tax, and when these packets were prepared, there were 2 outstanding meals tax establishments. Is that still the case? No outstanding lodging tax. I guess the policy of this council, to remind everybody, is we proceed.
With legal action against the, and I'm sure it'll be a letter from Tessie
Right.
on the meals tax side, but they're appreciably behind.
For one, restaurant owner, I'm hoping they have it in tomorrow or
Okay.
in the next couple of days.
Gotcha. Let's do the 20 of
I'll
these.
inform both to pay this week.
Okay. And that happens from time to time. People get a little late. But anyway, thank you for bringing
Is
that.
that
to
one
our-
or both?
I look for both of them.
Both of them pay. Okay, good, excellent.
We are pulling hard for that. Street improvements project, this is number 3 under ongoing projects. This is about the South Main project between
6th and 10th. if you read the first sentence, that was from the December write-up, and the second sentence was from the January write-up. The town has had a pre-construction conference with H.G. Reynolds, and all documents have been executed. The notice to proceed has been issued. However, the start date is June 2022. And that is because the elliptical pipe that they're purchasing will not be produced and delivered until June of 2022. So if anybody tells you there ain't a supply chain problem, there's a chain problem.
All I
supply
ask is
chain.
we do 2 weeks out or 1 week out, we start beating the drum, even with the phone call once every 3 days to remind people that South Main Street is going to be a place you may want to avoid, but we don't want to have a detour on Lunenburg Avenue. Lord have mercy.
Don't do that.
Don't you dare talk
There will
about
be
that.
no detour. The contractor has been informed that he's got to keep the road open with no detour.
So it'll
Just-
be 1 lane at a time, or
You get the 2 lanes, get the center lane
oh, that's right.
and the other lane. So they're going to have to cone it in a fashion which you'll have one southbound, one northbound. It'll be slower, I'm sure, and there'll be lots of signs, but they'll be able to go in both
No
directions.
detours. That's
The
great.
contractor has requested a bypass, and I've told him no.
All right, that's informational. Moving right along to
Oh, excuse me, very quickly on street improvements. Wednesday, I'm meeting with Colony Construction and for our paving schedule. The paving schedule this year, we reported we're going to do Church Street, Brown Street, but I'm going to add Main Street
which part of Maine?
from Irvin Street to Broad Street, 3
Downtown?
blocks.
You're talking about the HBD, historic.
The heart
District?
of the district. If you look at it, it's starting to suffer. We got a lot of utility cuts.
Yeah.
And I added because looking at VDOT's inspection report, they actually wrote us up for that section of Main Street. So
That'll be asphalt downtown.
that'll be asphalt downtown.
Go over with tar and chip.
Not at this time, unless funds are not available.
Mr. Allman loves those. So.
Yeah.
Really good on the motorcycle.
Next to grass.
This will actually be asphalt, but the reason I'm meeting with them is because it's an addition to what we talked about. But it's also going to include a significant amount of street painting. You know, parking spaces, stop bars,
When might
center
that
line.
take place? You got June going that way. This could be a nightmare. When is your timetable for downtown?
Downtown, I'll find out this week what the schedule is for Colony coming, but it's certainly not going to be before the middle of March.
Okay.
And I am going to ask about nighttime paving because I know Al Moore's going to ask me about it.
You read my mind. You absolutely read
And
my
I will
mind.
ask him if there's a difference in cost. They have been pretty gracious and gave us last year's. They honored the last year's price this year, and they've agreed to continue with that. But I'll ask them what is the additional cost, if any, for nighttime paving. And they may like it at nighttime because there's less traffic on them, less
More done
headache, and
fast.
less flagging. It may be a wash, but certainly one of the conversations we're going to have because I know the merchants downtown are going to like, well, why don't you do this at night? And
That's another thing. Just
Save
like
us-
information
yeah.
ahead of time will cushion that blow. It'll cushion that blow.
all right,
All right, moving right along to the East End project.
I think there's a Wigglesworth Tap 21,
I'm
and that's just informational at this time.
I'm on a different agenda. No, I skipped it. I'm sorry. That's Wigglesworth where the bids were just a little high this year.
Oh my word.
Now, the antique lighting is going to be along Birch.
Jackson
That's
and
a-
Powell, all 3
Wonderful.
streets. Yeah.
That's outstanding.
Contractor has completed installation of the sewer lines on the east end. They're currently connecting the homes to the sewer lines, and water construction should begin as soon as they finish with the sewer. I think they've got their materials. I can tell you that they are going to be finished after their substantial completion and final completion date because they have ordered water meters, new automatic read water meters that can be read from a laptop in the car, and they have a very long lead time as well. So it's probably, now the project will be done and we can put old meters in, but we won't be able to install these new, I can't say they're touch read, but they're automatic read. You actually read them from your truck when you drive through the area. And that's how we do your electric meters now, and then we'll be doing the water the same way.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you say if they're not here, you have to go back to the old ones, right?
For now.
Okay, what now, would that reflect a different cost? Would that up the project or?
No, I think they're gonna have to leave the old meter in, but they'll be reimbursed when they do put the new meter in. So the cost should be the same, it should be a wash. I don't think there'll be any additional work that has to be done, other than maybe coming out twice rather than just one time.
Okay, and nothing to report on weatherization. We do have new business, and I'm going to give the floor now to our Ward C Councilman, Colonel Tom Wilkinson.
Well, it is with heavy heart that I am formally renouncing my resignation from this council. A lot of people don't know this, but for the past 4 years, I've been fighting a divorce. I don't recommend that for anyone. However, it has come to a final hurdle, and not what I really wanted, but I can live with it. And in that moment came an aha moment, and that moment is life's short, and time for me to move on. And I have the opportunity to fully retire. I bought a house in Tennessee, so I'm in the process of moving there as we speak. And it was just the right time for me to do that. And I apologize that I'm not gonna finish my term in office. And I fully have enjoyed it. And it is a great experience. I highly recommend it for anyone to take that step. And, cause it's a lot of stuff that you think is gonna happen, and there's a lot of stuff that you go, what? And so, but it's eye-opening, and it's service to our community. So, I look forward to having some people, step up and want to take this position. But, as I said, I'm formally announcing my resignation as of 1 March.
Well, I want to say on behalf of the council, you have been an entertaining and a dedicated public servant. You've been not just a commander of Fort Pickett, but you've been involved with Rotary. I remember you would dress up for the Oktoberfest. You've been a pretty decent Grinch. Let's give Colonel Tom a round of applause for his service. And we're certainly going to miss you. And I spoke to the town manager. In keeping with, we've had 2 vacancies in the last 4 months. I was thinking about this as far as the calendar, that the council would accept his resignation with regret, effective March 1st, seek letters of interest through 5 o'clock Friday, February 11th, and then at that point, after those letters are received, this council would do like it did. We would interview and rank the people, and council would make a decision. One thing I'm not certain on, and I discovered this today, I'm not certain if we have to wait for the seat to be vacated before council can vote. Town attorney, I went and looked at the code this week because somebody said something to me about it. And town attorney Tessie Bacon is going to give her opinion as to what you certainly can recommend a successor, and he may be able to deliberate on it. But I want to make sure we follow the code, and we'll get all that worked out in time. But right now, we thank you, Tom, for your service, and glad you're going to be with us another month or so, 6 weeks. And anyone else have any thoughts on that? Would that timetable be okay for letters of interest?
Yes.
Would someone make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
All right, you're moving the council seek letters of interest for the Ward C seat with a 5 p.m. Friday, February 11th deadline.
Yes.
All right, is there a second that,
Accept the resignation?
and accept the resignation with regret effective March 1st? Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Ms. Jones is seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries 7-0. We will move right along. We'll have more on that next month. We have a new business number 2, engineering services for Progressive Engineering. There are electrical folks.
And these are our rates, but they are specific to when we request their service. This is not a per diem, or this is not a where we're holding them on retainage or anything like that. These figures are only when we request their services. This is the hourly rate they charge, and they revise them annually. And we'd like for you to authorize us to sign the agreement, recognize those new rates.
Is there a dramatic increase of this?
No, there's not a massive. There is an increase. I can't remember if it's 5 or 6%, but I can get back to you and tell you exactly what it is.
And these are the folks that help us when we have electrical design issues?
Well,
or-
they're the ones that designed, for example, the new improvements at the peak shaving generator. They assisted us with the purchase of transformers recently, where they load evaluate our transformers. So we don't just buy the cheapest transformer, we buy the cheapest transformer over a period of years. Robert hadn't had to do too terribly much. He did assist us also this year in purchasing some new breakers. That'll be over at the transfer station down on West Entrance Road. But
His name is Robert Thomas, but he's not to be confused with our Bobby Thomas, but he's been I think with the town, helped the town for about 20 years or so. Is there a motion to approve the new schedule of engineering services? I'm gonna give the second to Mr. Nash. Mr. Morgan made the motion. Due to the dollar figure, I need a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
That motion carries 7-0. Now we have a deed request on Bird Road.
Attached is a deed as prepared by Ken Walden for Blackstone Building Group. If you remember, they built the townhouses on Bird Road. There were actually 8 lots to start with. One of the lots is unbuildable because we have water and sewer lines on it. So if you remember, they only built 7 townhouses, and then there's an 8th lot. But because of our sewer and water lines crossing that lot, it is basically an unbuildable lot. What you see before you is a deed and a survey showing that lot. They just want to give it to the town. And I don't have a problem with receiving it as we already use it openly. We have 2 sewer lines in that, and a portion of the right-of-way easement actually crosses over into that property. It's unbuildable. It's too small to ever build on. And more importantly, there's water and sewer lines on the property that
Do we have to cut the grass?
I think we would follow, but we do have to cut grass at the pump station anyhow, so we
Okay.
can cut the grass
Just
there.
looking- I know we're looking for new things to do all the time.
I'm sure that's gonna be requested. Hey, your grass is too tall and, that sort of thing, so.
So is your recommendation that the town accept it? I know that at no cost.
I don't, at no cost, please, because I think there's been some discussion about the town paying, but the town should not pay for anything like this.
If I recall correctly, this town went out of its way and rezoned a bunch of property for this man, trying to be all for naught.
And it would be at no cost to the town, legal or otherwise, legal expenses otherwise.
What is council's pleasure? Do you wish to accept the gift?
It ain't much of a gift, but it is a piece of property, and, it's already encumbered with our utilities.
That's the only reason you recommend accepting this. 'Cause
Otherwise, I would just say let them pay the taxes on the thing, but it really can't be built on.
All right, members of council, what's your pleasure?
I mean, I move that we accept it. I just don't like the fact that we gotta maintain the grass on it.
Well,
Well, I'm sure we can find somebody, Eric, that could do that. Does anybody in town do that?
I'm sure that,
You get some sheep.
All you gotta do is give
Did
me
someone make a
lawnmower.
motion? Do we have a
That
motion?
way you won't be
Mr.
involved.
Nash did make the motion.
Mr. Nick, who's second?
Second.
Mr. Morgan is seconded to accept, as long as there's no cost. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next up, we have a lease agreement with the post office.
you know, I was unaware because apparently we haven't signed one of these since I've been here. I just don't remember it, but a lease agreement showed up at the office in the mail one day, and you see it presented before you. And it was presented to me by a realtor who apparently has been hired, or their firm has been hired by the Postal Service to work out these leases, if not nationwide, then certainly in the state of Virginia. Currently, the town receives
$3,200 annually.
no, $2,800, and this is a proposal for a 5-year lease for $3,200.
But we've been getting paid on time, correct? We have
As
been,
far as I know, I asked Jennifer Hardy about it, and Jennifer said, "Yeah, we received a check from them." So I was unaware that we actually received monies for this, but they're asking that we execute the document, which is a $400 annual increase to the lease and this is specific to the parking lot, which is owned by the town next to the post office, and it also does include. And I've seen this a time or two before with Bon Secours, but a realtor is asking for $200 and compensation. And I would ask that for $200, for a $400 annual increase,
take it.
it's a one-time $200.
I didn't realize we were getting compensation for this.
I didn't
lot.
either.
I did
Can
not
we
either.
Use that fund, part of those funds, if not all of it this year, to seal it and line it,
The parking lot?
stripe it?
Well, I've got all 4 parking lots proposed in the budget in our capital improvement plan that we're talking about is doing all 4 of the parking lots, Bevel's, Town Hall, Police Department, and I can add this one to it.
I mean, it's not a big one.
No, it's a-
we're getting revenue from it. We need to use it.
Make it look attractive. I need a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Ms. Jones has moved to approve the lease agreement. Is there a second?
Second.
Get a second, Colonel Tom. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Now, this next one, folks, is very interesting. We have a bill from a town resident. He is asking for $15, and his name is Mike Bushbell of College Avenue. He said that on November 11th, no one came to pick up the trash. Now, if memory serves me right, November 11th was a holiday.
Holiday.
Very well
The
done.
trash is placed at the curb on Wednesday, November 10th, for pickup on Thursday. No one came. On Friday, I called the town office around 2:30 and notified the town. On Saturday, I had to take the trash that had been outside for 3 days to the dumpster site. This bill is for my time and expenses, $15. My only question is this: if you're on the Thursday pickup and Thursday's a holiday, was he supposed to have his trash picked up Friday?
If he was supposed to be picked up Thursday, logically, it would be one day behind,
So we just made
for whatever reason. Yeah, I can't dispute the fact that he didn't get his trash picked up. He asked me for money, and I said, I'd really be more comfortable, and you can see this is pretty old, it's back in November when he had made
Right.
the request, but, I told him I would take it to council and do what council's opinion is, and I can't tell you what the facts are other than the
Right.
gentleman came to see me
Right.
one day.
You're opening a can of worms
Deny.
if we
Deny.
give him $15.
I was gonna say, I mean, I don't know, you know what I do on Monday holidays? I really do. Those guys work so hard. I try to go to the dumpster site so my load won't be hard on them. Cause I see, I mean, it's amazing the work they do. If that's the only mistake they make,
November the 12th.
so members of council, do you wanna make a motion to deny or take no action?
I'll make a motion to deny.
Mr. Morgan has moved to deny.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Nash is second. These are the two that live closest to the residents. They're making, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Van Orbeck, will you inform the resident tomorrow of his request? Or let the clerk do that? Just playing, just playing. Christmas decorating.
Asked to put this on.
I would like, when he talks to him, to explain the holiday schedule. You know,
You mean explain to the resident?
yes.
Yeah. Very good.
Christmas decorating, and that became a point, and more than Christmas decorating, the take down of Christmas decoration, I think became a little bit of a hot topic on social media. And yes, we did take it down a week early.
December 28th, they were gone.
It usually is after the first of the year, but here's why. Okay, so everybody knows. That week between Christmas and New Year's, we're shorthanded anyhow. A bunch of the guys are hunting dams out, and we have a lot of construction going on right now. ViewMax, the duplexes down on South Main Street, several projects that the guys are working, so he wanted to be ready after the first of the year with a full crew to get into starting that, because the first week of January also we're reading meters, so we're already shorthanded a couple folks. So Dan gave the instruction to the guys, and I asked Charlie one day what he was doing. He said, I'm starting to take down the Christmas decorations, and because I didn't tell him no, he went on and did what he thought he was correct, and Dan felt like he needed to get them down simply because we were gonna be so busy after the first of the January. My apologies, it's on me. I didn't stop them. I knew they were doing it. After the first or second day, I knew they were taking it down. So I want to let you guys know if you got criticized on Facebook because the town
Not
took
bad.
down the decorations,
More questions than anything, and it was really mild compared to
we will shoot for after the first of the year.
Well, it actually was beneficial for the park scenario at least, because then it started raining like crazy.
Yeah, it was actually a good call, and I tell you, Dan's rationale, I think was a good decision. I think you did the right thing personally. I mean,
Okay.
I just wish somebody take mine down for me.
It certainly wasn't intended maliciously or anything.
No,
And I think the other topic, Philip, was the houses, that was the other topic.
Oh, there was some question about
Not
lighting
being
the
decorated.
houses and doing
About
whose
not being decorated.
responsibilities are several things. I asked Charlie, because I got a call, I think, one day about decorating the inside of the houses. I said, man, I don't
That's
think
been
the
schools
town
in the past.
does that.
Yeah.
I did talk to Charlie, and they had lit the houses on the exterior like we always do. But the decorations on the inside have been clubs or
Well, I think-
schools.
Gifted and talented class does it. One at Blackstone Primary, they do one of them.
I think just showing of times, we're gonna have to oversee that. I mean, so this coming year, we need to start soliciting come September. That's a town of Blackstone job. We need to do it ourselves. Not decorate them, but solicit for organizations
People
to
do
do that.
Yeah.
And the decorating of the tavern is typically done, Robert Thomas graciously spends his time, not our electric Robert Thomas, but Carriage Museum Robert Thomas, graciously spends his time putting up wreaths. It's really a 5 minute thing and putting lights on the inside, and he was sick.
Yeah.
And when I called him, I said, are you going to put the lights up? Again, asking Charlie, is that our responsibility? Do we usually do that? He said, no, Robert does. Robert had been sick, and that's why
Right.
they weren't put up. Jennifer and I actually went down there. It's really not terribly time consuming, but we'll get that put up.
It's all good. These things happen. I mean, and we appreciate everything y'all do. Moving right along to Code Blue contract renewal. I thought we were Code Red.
Code Blue is actually our IT folks. That work
Okay,
on our computers.
okay.
Code Red is
The phone.
emergency.
That's when the
phones.
clerk calls.
I'm going to ask that you put this off until the next meeting, and whether we have a continued or a regular scheduled meeting. This is really Jennifer Hardy's baby,
All right.
and I'm not going to be able to report too terribly much about it.
Fantastic. Next up, under new business number 8, the Nottaway County landfill.
Think we already covered
We
that?
did. We covered that. We covered the write-offs. Rate increases.
Well, just wanted to let you know that SEPA which is where the town buys a portion of its power from Kerr Lake. And the Philpott Commission, I think is what it's called, is going up slightly in April and will remain in place. And we usually see an increase every year through SEPA, but that'll be covered, so you know, in your power cost adjustment line on your bill, because that's one of the 3 items that we do. SEPA, fuel adjustment, and any true-ups that are required, okay?
But it's still an increase to the,
It's an increase to the
to the
customer.
consumer.
It's a pass-through, just like fuel adjustment and the other. I know people have been really howling about their bills lately, and if you remember, we had about a 24 or 25% increase proposed by Dominion this year. You increased your base rate by 8.5%, and then we included the fuel adjustment increase and the true-up increase, okay? But however, the other 8% or the remainder you've been paying with ARPA funds.
ARPA money.
Okay, so we didn't pass everything on to everybody, but it's gone up.
February 1st is gonna be brutal with this cold weather.
You're gonna see some high bills. And we'll read them February 1st, and I guess the bill will actually go out March 1st, and when people see it.
So in other words, the bill I get in February is gonna be for my usage for what?
The bill you get February 1st will be December usage.
The March 1st is gonna be real fun. Oh, boy.
March is the time that you're gonna go, holy
That's gonna be
smokes, it's
brutal.
65 degrees outside, what the heck?
Yeah.
happened? It'll be for that January usage.
All right, do you need a motion on that, or is that just information?
No, informational.
All right, moving right along to, we have a new bus purchase,
And
$82,000 bus.
as a matter of procedure, because it exceeds $10,000, Mary has gotten a state bid from Sunny Merriman Corporation, who we bought all of our buses from. And the state bid for the bus we intend to purchase is $82,757. And I'd like to get authorization from council to formalize that purchase.
Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Morgan's moved, is there a second? Ms. Jones is seconded, and it says right here, the town's match will be from funds previously saved from the sale of other buses.
That's that $23,000 we talked about earlier.
So the net effect of the motion is how much money,
From the
think
town.
It's 4%. 4% of the purchase prices, but we've already got the cash set aside, and it came from surplusing and selling.
Wonderful.
buses that we've been saving the money.
all right, well, I'm gonna still assume it may run, just to be safe. Roll call vote, starting with Mr. Miller.
Aye.
That motion carries 7-0. We have a town square. This is the patio at the corner kitchen. A lot of folks don't realize it's actually owned by the town of Blackstone.
I think back in the, and Jennifer included the minutes, but several years ago, there was a request for an easement on that patio. If you're familiar, the little concrete patio on the south side of the corner kitchen property, and the request was back then for an easement. I think council rightly decided instead of an easement, they would grant a license. And I think that that license does have, when we found it, does have a statement in it that it has to be renewed for the new property owners. So the last property owners have a license, and I think they intend on selling the building, and this will be for the new buyers. And Winnie Moss is the buyer, but he has a site-specific LC.
Same usage.
Same usage, yes.
So a motion to continue the practice of including this lease with
The
the,
buyer of the building is one thing, but it's by no means indicating that corner kitchen is changing hands or closing or anything
Right,
like
just
that.
the
I
new
think
owner of the
the
building.
new owner of the building, and we're asking that the attached license that was prepared and is in your packet be approved for the new buyer.
I would welcome a motion to that effect. All right, I'm gonna give Mr. Morgan the second and Ms. Jones's motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Does the new agreement specify it stays with the property too? So if it sells again, it would still have to be approved? by-
Always comes to the council.
Does the new agreement say it?
I'm reading right here. Yep, the license shall terminate when the premises are no longer owned by the licensee. Okay.
Very good. Moving right along, coming down the home stretch here, we have a burn grant of $4,532 to assist with crime control.
It's a relatively small amount, but if you look in the cover letter, you'll see regarding local law enforcement block LOLE grant programs, and that's just under my name and address on the cover letter. You'll see it's for fiscal year 2019. Okay. Apparently, there was some issue between the state and the federal government about the disbursement of these funds, and so I think you can expect to see fiscal year 20, fiscal year 21 forthcoming, in fiscal year 22 also forthcoming. But I'm asking you at this time to accept a grant award in the amount of $4,532.
No local match?
No local match.
Need a motion to that effect?
Please.
Ms. Jones has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Colonel Thomas seconded.
What is the definition of to strengthen crime control?
That's what it says in the application. That's where I got it from.
Let's have a heck of a cookout.
Do you know what you would